to Clywys. I think this afternoon we've seen, like most members across the chamber, Leanne Wood, Lynn Neagle, Marcus should have highlighted, we all receive many representations from families who have children or siblings living with ASD. They often come into our offices angry, stressed, anxious, exhausted, and sometimes holding back tears as they explain the hardships they've experienced trying to get a simple request of support for their children or loved one. And last October, during the previous debate, I stressed that it was critical that the Welsh Government and all other public bodies supported these families who, on a daily basis, face many challenges, and not to allow barriers to exist to that support. These families tackle these challenges to the best of their abilities for their loved ones, and our job is to provide mechanisms that help them and offer support, and definitely not to increase their hardships. The families keep on telling me of their anger and frustration at still having to argue and demand support for their children or siblings, to get the support and care necessary to help those who are living with ASD and to progress and improve their well-being. We're all aware that autism is a lifelong disability that affects how people both perceive the world and interact with others. And I'm pleased that Paul Davies's bill will actually reflect upon not just the children we often talk about, but adults as well. And I want to therefore know that the bulk of our casework focuses upon children, but let's not forget the challenges that adults face with ASD. Many have difficulty in the transition period into adulthood, often facing a cliff edge in regard to support they've had as a child and coming to an end at the age of 18. And simultaneously, they are looking into the world of work and the challenges of getting into employment. They don't want to be a lifelong recipient of welfare benefits. They actually want to get into work, they want to make their own way, and they want to improve their lives. However, as they come across the new challenges, they need to understand that we can offer support to both the individual, but also to the employer as well. And Paul Davies mentioned the training. We need to look at expanding the training areas to consider that aspect as well, so that the transition into adulthood becomes a bit smoother for them, and not so fearful and frightening that has been for many in the cases. And yesterday evening, I was at the event hosted by Jane Hutch in the Senedd, and where Andrea Wayman of Elite Employment Agency spoke of her work, which is a charity that helps people into employment. And she highlighted one example, how it works for young people, how she had a one-to-one support for a young man who had autism. And that one-to-one support allowed him to develop in the workplace, in the work placement, and build the confidence that was required. And as such, that young person then got into work and gainful employment. That is also an important aspect we must not ignore. Minister, I know you've highlighted the actions being taken by the Welsh Government, the introduction of the 2008 strategy, the update of that strategy, the refreshed delivery plan, and the introduction of the integrated national autism services, £13 million. I did put 7, but it said £13 million. All wonderful. They are all positive. There's no doubt about that. But as Paul Davies highlighted, progress is patchy and slow. It's essential that we ensure such a strategy is consistently delivered by local authorities and health boards and is providing the best possible services and support for people living with ASD. I'm afraid I'm not seeing that in the ground, nor the families. The delivery plan and the introduction of the integrated service in the Welsh Government are good, but when families don't experience that delivery in their communities, then we need to take further action. I have sought clarification from my own authority on its autism strategy and the identification of its autism champion, and unfortunately that clarity is slow in coming forward. This cannot be allowed to continue, and we must put into place requirements and therefore perhaps the need for legal duties on public bodies to both prepare strategies for autism services and have due regard for those strategies when performing their responsibilities. Now, I'm aware that various pieces of legislation have been introduced that may help. We often refer to the Social Services Wellbeing Act and the Additional Learning Needs Bill that's currently going through the Assembly. The question that arises is, are they delivering for these families? And will this new bill support those existing legislation and improve the plight of these families? And it's our duty to ask that question, and if we conclude that such a bill is needed to make the situation better for families on the ground, then we should introduce a statutory obligation that will hold people to account, which will have them act upon it, and which will allow us and families to hold those bodies to account. Now, I accept there are other conditions that are important that should be sitting alongside autism, and perhaps in the intervening time, Paul Davies may wish to look at whether it's possible to expand the bill to introduce a bill which covers all neurodevelopment conditions. And I'm sure that time will be due for that. Now, this afternoon, I will be supporting this motion. and I will be looking forward to the delivery of its ambition and its offer of improvements to those who live with autism spectrum conditions. It's important that we legislate for a purpose, and that any legislation will improve the lives of those it targets towards, and I will support and look forward to that happening.
Bethan Jenkins.